Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Interesting Talks with Footprints. Hopefully, your glass is half full rather than half empty. And as we know, we can top it up anywhere we are in life. No matter where we are in life, we can top it back up. Today's talk is about worry. Um, Everybody worries, we all worry, but I've got some techniques and some ideas of how to look after our worry and keep it as something that we use to help us rather than stop us from living our life, as in being very, very stressed out, and chronic illness can come from worry. So one of the things what I can say about worry is to start off with, it is okay to worry to a certain degree. It helps us to identify potential problems or problems that are actually taking place in our life at the present time. But when it becomes persistent worry, chronic worry, and we're always worried all the time, seriously, that is a major problem. That is something that's we need to address. You need to look at that and discover why are you worrying this much, and how is it affecting you, and what can you possibly do to solve whatever's going on. But there's different kinds of worry. So have a look at yourself, and is it general worry? Are you worried about everything? Specific worries, which you're worried about something specifically, as in you're worried about your child's education, or you're worried about your job, or are you worried about everything, i.e. world affairs, everything that's going on? Are you worried about everything that is happening in the world? They call that generalized worry, and probably lead to generalized anxiety, which has almost slipped out of my mouth there, but we're talking about worry. Have some self-awareness what kind of worry you are. Okay. Now, worry can be displaced by doing some exercise, because when you start to worry, the sympathetic system goes into action, which is the flight-fight syndrome, and that releases neurochemicals into your system, cortisol and adrenaline, for example. And if they're in your system, and even if you completely stop worrying, they're still going to be in your system. So any cardiovascular exercise is going to remove them. So any form of exercise, getting your heart rate up, helps you to get rid of worry in general. And if the chemicals are in your system that you've been worrying about, they will be removed far quicker than if you're staying in a sitting position, sedentary, not doing much. So bear that in mind as well. Then we have different kinds of worry. We've got worries that people that catastrophize. And if you are a catastrophizer, you know you are a catastrophizer, because again, you worry about everything. Everything in your mind, the whole world, everything is a problem. The whole world is going down the drain, so to speak. And there's nothing you can do about it as far as you're concerned. And minimalization, that is when you minimalize the good things in your life and only emphasize the negative thing that's been going on in your life. So that's called minimalization. That's a form of worrying in itself. Then we've got all or nothing. We could also call this splitting, but I'm just going to call it all or nothing. So either you get it all right, you're gonna get this done, you're going to get this job interview and everything's going to be okay in your life, or you're not going to get it and you're going to be on benefits for the rest of your life, and nothing ever is going to go right for you. Then we've got overgeneralization. That's when we just look at all the things that have gone wrong and think that everything is going to continue to go wrong because of the things that's happened in the past. So if we have one negative experience, such as we have, I don't know, some fish and chips, and we had food poison, we will never ever eat out again. Never, never. That's happened. We'll never contemplate taking any food from outside of the house again, because we had one negative experience. Another one is where we have a negative attention feeling. When that is basically when you look at things, you think you know what other people are thinking, and you don't question what they're thinking, and you think that people are thinking negative stuff about you, and you don't actually ask them what it is. Again, that's negative attention. That's a system of worry. Now, when you do worry, and which we do, there's some ways to look at it, and it is have the worst possible case scenario that could ever happen in this situation that you're worrying about, and learn to accept it mentally. Learn to accept it mentally. Once you've accepted it mentally, this is the worst possible case that can happen, and you say to yourself, well, you know what, I'm going to have to accept this. Then when you've accepted it, look for solutions, what you will do in that worst case scenario to move on. So first thing, you think of what the worst case scenario is, then you accept it in your mind mentally, and then you look for solutions that you have when you're working from your worst case scenario position. Trust me, that's a very, very powerful way to deal with worry. Also, you need to look at the consequences of worry. Worry will destroy your health. It will take away all light from your current situation where you're in, because you're worrying and you're not thinking about anything else that you could be doing in your life because you're so engrossed in worry. People that worry a lot, trust me, they do die a lot younger. It's just one of those things, because you're ruining your physical health, much less your mental health. So these are a few tips, a few little guidelines on worry and how to deal with it. I will come back with a more in-depth talk sometime in this year, because at the moment I'm looking at some books and some courses and some stuff specifically on worry. But I've noticed a lot of people are worrying at the moment because of what's going on in the world, the economy, things that's happening in other countries that are affecting this country. And some people have got what I would call, I won't say general anxiety, but general worry. There's people that I'm coming across that seem to be worried about everything. And some of these things you can handle, and some of them you can't. So remember the difference between that. Some things we can take action on, and some things can't. So it's also very important to recognize that. I think that, what do they call it? The 12-step program, what's the prayer? There's a prayer called, God give me the wisdom to change the things that I can change, and the ability to know the difference between the things I can change and the things I can't. There's a word of a prayer for that, but that's also something to bear in mind. Change what you can change in your life, and things that you can't change, like governments in America, for example, you can't do nothing about them. So why would you worry about something you can't change? Because you can't change it. So it's unnecessary use of your emotions and your sympathetic system, which is going to be causing you problems, because it's going to release neurochemicals into your system that are going to cause havoc, as in the flight system, what it sets off. So hopefully this talk has been useful. It's giving you some ideas of how to cope with worry, how to look about worry, and how to make worry less intrusive in your day-to-day experiences. So for 2 weeks' time, take care of yourself, leave comments, share this with people that you know that are going through worrying situations themselves, or worriers. Just to add to that, if you have got worry, share it with a friend. Talk to a trusted friend or a therapist. They could also give you a different perspective on what you're worrying about. So bye for now. See you in 2 weeks' time.